Chapter 7, Gathering Supporting Materials. This is basically about how you are going to research and support the information that you have. The ways that we'll talk about supporting material and the sources that you have are personal knowledge and experience, the internet, online databases, traditional library holdings, and interviews. Let's begin with personal knowledge. What kind of skills and hobbies and personal spirit experience do you have? All of these things can boost your credibility. Be aware, however, the situation in which you use your personal knowledge. The next way is the internet. We've got the vertical search engine, the World Wide Web, and all that it contains. You also have another strategy, which is the Boolean search, and this will give you further information in your text about that search. Internet resources are important and viable as well. When you evaluate these web sources, you need to look at several things to make sure of what you have. Anyone can put anything on the web. Evaluating the internet resources, first of all, as far as accountability is concerned. Who's responsible for the site? I hope you know that Wikipedia is done by individuals. If you wanted to change something on Wikipedia, you could go in and do that. So be aware of who's responsible for the site. Accuracy. How accurate is that information? Is it correct? And then objectivity. Is the site free of bias, or is it leaning one way or another? Timeliness means, is the site current, or is it something like using a 1950s encyclopedia? Is it usable? Do the layout and the design of the site facilitate its use? And what's the diversity? Is it inclusive for cultures and other aspects of our world? There are also traditional library holdings, books, periodicals, online databases, newspapers, reference resources, government documents, and special services. Don't eliminate or hold out on some of those uses and forget them. Don't just go to books or periodicals. Think about other things that can bring in those resources and that supporting material for you. One of the other things that you can use would be interviews. You can interview people that you may know have something to do with your speech topic. But first of all, think about, before you go into that interview, what is my purpose? Why am I interviewing that person? If you're talking about, for example, a battle in World War II, and you have a friend or acquaintance or someone in your community who was in that battle, the purpose would be to get a bird's eye view, first person view of what happened in that battle. Make sure that you schedule that interview and that you plan your questions so that you're not going in just haphazardly and wasting your time and the interviewee's time. When you go to the interview, make sure that you dress appropriately, that you arrive early, and then that you conduct the interview professionally. Follow up for your interview is to write a handwritten thank you note thanking that person for the time and the information. You might even wait and follow up to tell them the grade that you made on your speech. Looking at some of our research strategies, you want to make sure that you develop a preliminary bibliography. When you research information, you want to make sure that you have written down the source of that information. Include possible resources that you might want to use in your speech and keep track of those. Be consistent with your formatting, and for our purposes, it will be APA. Choose an appropriate number of resources. Don't have too few And certainly make sure that you don't have too many. Locate your resources, evaluate how useful they will be, take notes on those resources. Your text discusses the use of note cards for that information and that material, but make sure whatever you do as far as your source of taking notes, that you have written down the bibliographical information so that you can cite your source. And then identify possible presentation aids. What could you use to help you? Sample note card in figure 7.6 is in your text as well as here. I recommend that you look at it, that you see how to paraphrase and how to use a direct quotation. There's several different types of supporting material. You can use an illustration or a story. You can use descriptions, word pictures, really bringing your audience into it. Explanations, statements that make clear how it's done, examples. And then definitions. Make sure that when you use definitions that they aren't too long and too laborious, that they get to your audience, or that the words are not too difficult to be understood by those of us who might not understand your topic. Other types of supporting material, analogies, compare to things, statistics are a good example to use as well. And then opinions, and that might be from a testimony or quotations from someone else. It might also be from your interview. So be aware of how you are going to support your speech. Do so well so that your speech might be valid.